Hey guys, I'm on my way to the movies soon. I'm gonna go see Wolverine. Ching, ching. It's gonna be sweet. I'm hoping it's gonna be sweet. I heard this one makes up for a lot of the mistakes, or in my opinion, a lot of the mistakes that came from Wolverine Origins, and I'm really hoping that's true. This could be a real good movie, but I'm doing this before I go to the movies, just saying that I'm going, and there's a reason I wanted to add a beginning to this. Today, a famous actor has died, at least famous for me. The actor who played Kang, which was a Klingon on Star Trek, died today. He's 91. Now, maybe that doesn't mean a lot to you. To me it means something pretty big. But it also does mean a little bit to you out there. Because if you remember, Mr. Freeze from the animated series was actually also played by the same actor. So, have yourself a moment. Think back on your Mr. Freeze. Think back on Kang. It's sad, but I thought it was appropriate to talk about him a little bit. Not going to do a big spiel, just wanted to mention that he'd passed and that it sucks. I'm sorry, I wish I had more. Those are the two big roles to me that I feel really stick with me in general, is especially, I mean, Kang is one thing, yes, but actually I almost feel like he did his best deal ever with Mr. Freeze. I mean, if you think about it, he rewrote the character. The way he acted that character for us actually changed the character in comic books and movies since. They really have remodified that character since that day to be the person that we saw in the 90s animated series, and that's in part to that actor. So, now that we've done that, we've said our piece, we've given our tribute, I just want to say goodbye to this man. I want to say thank you for giving us what you gave us, because it made an impact on my childhood, and it made an impact on probably millions of other people's childhoods too. Even if you didn't realize it, now you might know and have an appreciation for this man that you didn't have before. So, Wolverine. When I come back from the movie, I will go directly into a review to talk about the new movie Wolverine and whether or not it's worth your time. Later on, guys. Alright, back from Wolverine, or the Wolverine. What are my thoughts? Well, I don't want to ruin anything for anyone that hasn't seen this, so this is going to be a strict no spoiler review. How am I trying to do this then? Okay, first off, let's talk the attitude. The attitude was definitely there. Wolverine had that presence, and he needs that. He needs that attitude. So that was done really well. Fight scenes. Fight scenes were handled real well too. The only thing I can say is that he fought a lot of people, like just regular guys, like could have been you, could have been me, just as long as you know a couple kicks. So that was a little underwhelming, and it kind of brought the speed of the movie down, because anybody that came at him, he was just like ka-chink, ka-chink, ka-chink. And even though it's cool to see him tear things up, it's even more cool to see him have that difficulty. But at the same time, there's something that takes place in this movie, and if you haven't noticed it by the commercials, he does kind of lose his power. When he loses his powers, he starts getting shot and everything like that, and even though I don't like to see Wolverine struggle too much, I like to see him struggle because of the healing factor. For some reason, when he's all hurt and beat up, he seems less awesome because he's just some dude with claws, and anybody could have just been a dude with claws. However, this doesn't take the movie down, because from what I saw, it was nice to have that moment where he was almost human, where he still had his claws and everything, but he was getting torn up. And then you actually got to see another part of the character that we all know that he's determined, but we don't know just how far that willpower goes. He takes like shotgun shells, he takes bullets in the stomach, bullets in the legs, like he's a monster. He gets stabbed, he's punching and throwing down, and he's actually receiving damage, and that brings the state of his determination forward in a way that we wouldn't have been able to see, because, sorry if this is a huge spoiler, but of course by the end of the movie he has his powers back, and he has a big throwdown with, if you don't somehow know this, the main protagonist or bad guy of the movie is of course going to be the Silver Samurai. I'm not saying anything bad about the Silver Samurai. He was never one of my favorites, but he served a purpose. When they originally brought the Silver Samurai, he was just basically a dude in this silverish armor, and his sword was some sort of magic that could cut through anything, which meant that Wolverine was in trouble. He needed to be careful because even he could get cut up. And in this, he's more to the effect that the movies, this is still a continuation. So First Class, X-Men 1 through 3, and Wolverine Origins are all taken into account for this movie. In fact, don't leave the theater when the movie is done. You have to stay to see after the credits, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on something that's fairly epic. So I'm not going to tell you what that is, but I'm going to tell you that it does happen. The next thing I'd like to tell you is, aside from the Silver Samurai, you will see a couple, I guess you could say they're shout-outs to little things from Wolverine's history, and the action scenes are decent. The story is not bad. In fact, I'd say that this story is definitely more put together than what we've seen in X-Men 3, or for that matter, Wolverine Origins. This is definitely better than that. I think that so far, in the way that I've been rating these movies, First Class is pretty high up there. X-Men 1 was great. X-Men 2 wasn't exactly as good, but it definitely had better action scenes. Wolverine Origins is way down there on the list. X-Men 3 is above Wolverine Origins, not by much. And then this new Wolverine is definitely rank with, like, the first and second movie. First Class, I know everybody was kind of, oh, that movie was great. But for me, First Class is kind of still, it's lower on the polls, but it's still a good movie. And the reason I say this is because it's a prequel. I'm not 100% thrilled about a prequel, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this Wolverine movie. The Wolverine, first off, Hugh Jackman is in great shape, and he plays the character with everything that he needs to play this character. He really is the best thing they could have got for Wolverine. Years from now, probably about 10 or 15 years from now, when they recast and make another X-Men movie, you guys know what's going to happen. I don't know if somebody's going to be topping Hugh Jackman, because if you think about it, Hugh Jackman is the X-Men movies. I don't think that anybody else, not even Patrick Stewart, has their hands in that movie as powerful as Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is the X-Men movies. The first movie, basically about Wolverine. Second, about Wolverine. Third, about Wolverine. The First Class, the only time he's not in it, I felt like they were missing something. And then they even have him make a cameo anyway, and it was like, for me anyway, it was like one of the best parts in the movie, just to see him sitting there drinking a beer, and he was like, you know, I'm not going to say it, I'm trying to keep it so that everybody can watch my review here. all I could say, if I have to rate this, I would have to say that this actually, I'm going to give this a 4. I think that it has a little bit of trouble starting. Halfway through, if you're like me, he's doing a lot of suffering, he's having some troubles, he's cutting up normal guys, and even though they're hitting those storyline elements perfectly, and there is a lot of action, and it's staying at a nice pace, it felt weak to me. And when he got that power back, the second half is just, it picked up and it was great. So I feel like it starts a little slow and it does drag, but it's like a 2.5 hour movie. I think the first 40 minutes are a little tough to get through. After that, it's great. And even though I say the first 40 minutes are tough to get to, they were still very enjoyable. They're enjoyable, they're slow. They feel like they almost could have been done on a television series. Like, you wait and there's a major point. You wait and there's a major point. And then the whole thing is like major, 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 major. So the end of the movie picks it up so well, and the last fight scene is a sweet, epic throwdown that is going to change the course of this character, I think. And I really do believe that. In the new movie that they're thinking about doing, I don't know if it's going to be X-Men 4, I heard something about X-Men Futures Past or something, but the Wolverine character is definitely going to be different now. There's a major change that takes place in this movie that's going to change the way his character is handled from this point on. And I don't know how much longer they're going to run with this. I don't know how much longer they can keep Hugh Jackman. But I will say this, he was in the best shape of his Wolverine career. Hands down, the best shape. I like this movie. I'm going to give it a 4. And just to say this, I seen it in 2D because I didn't want to gimmick myself with any type of 3D cliche. And that's not even what I'm looking for. What I'm saying is that I wanted to see the movie just as a movie. I didn't want to see any type of gimmick or any type of extra eye candy that would have taken me away from the actual experience of simply watching a movie as I would have in my home, so that I could give this a fair rating. So keep in mind, this is my 2D review, and I really believe that this movie is a 4. If not, like, if it's less than that, it's like a 3.8. I feel like it's definitely better than your average movie, and there's some way major standout points. The end fight scene is great. All in all, I would say go check this out in the theaters. This is probably one you want to actually see. If you're a Wolverine fan, don't put it off. Don't let this thing leave the theaters. Go check it out. This has been Reploid Bill with a Reploid review, and see you at the movies.